Hi everyone! The subject of today's video is so you want to prepare for your theory test. It's a great idea to prepare and there's going to be no surprises on your test. So if you study what I've told you will be on the test, you're going to do just fine. That being said, I'm making one video for all three of my schools and we're all doing something just a little bit different. So if you see something in this video and you have no idea what I'm talking about, we've never covered it in class, it's probably not on your test. But in case you are concerned, please ask me and I'm happy to clarify exactly what's on your test. What is on everyone's test for sure? Note values. So here we've got 6 different types of notes. There's your 6th. And they will be on your test. You need to be able to tell me what they're called and how many beats they get. So we're going to start over here on this side with this note that's got the colored in note head and a stem. Okay, I'm going to give you maybe like 2-3 seconds to think about what it's called. Okay, time's up. Here's the answer. Hopefully you got it. This is called a quarter note. Okay, and it gets 1 beat. Sorry you can't really see the note from the glare, but I think we all know how to spell note, N-O-T-E, just in case. Quarter note. And our quarter note is going to receive 1 beat. Okay, that one everyone's usually pretty good with. Let's move on. We now have a note that has an open note head, okay, it's not filled in, and a stem. I'll give you a couple seconds to think about what it's called. La 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 la. Okay, hopefully you came up with the name half note. Half, H-A-L-F, note. And a half note is going to get 2 beats. Moving along, we now have something that looks remarkably similar to a half note. This should help us to remember what the note is called. So we have a half note and a dot, so it is called a dotted half note. Okay, it's not called a half dotted note, it is called a dotted half note. Just write that down for you. Now, how many beats does a dotted half note get? Well, I'll tell you, it gets 3. Why does it get 3? Does it get 3 because I like the number 3? Is it 3 because I arbitrarily picked that number from the sky? No, it gets 3 because a dot represents half the value of the note that it comes after. So if a half note, we know a half note gets 2 beats. Okay, half of 2 is 1. And 1 plus 2 is altogether now 3. So the dotted half note gets 3. You might want to pay attention to what I said about the dot getting half the value of the note it comes after. Might come in handy on your test. Okay, moving along. We now have this note that's totally open. There's no stem. Okay, the name is what it resembles, if you will. This is called a whole note. That is whole with a W, as in I want the whole lot of you to get over 90% on this test, okay? Whole with a W. And our whole note gets 4 beats, okay? Nice and big. Now, here we go. We're back to notes that are colored in. It's got a stem, but it also has this little flag, which signifies that it is different than the quarter note. Okay, this one is called that's right, it's an 8th note. If I was a betting person, I would bet that if you're going to make any spelling mistakes, it would be with this word, 8th note. It's just kind of a tricky word. It's got a couple of H's in there. It's a little weird. So please make sure you spell it right. It is E-I-G-H-T-H. Okay, 8th note. And 1/8 note all by itself gets, yes, that's right, half a beat. Okay? Now, I would like you to take note of the fact that the head of this note is colored in. If you draw an 8th note like this, okay, this is not a note. It doesn't exist. It's some sort of new creature. Maybe if you're going to be an experimental composer, you can make up your own note. But for our theory test, please make sure that those 8th note heads are colored in. Otherwise, it looks like some sort of weird hybrid of a half note and an 8th note, and I don't know what it is. So please, please, please color your note heads in. All right, and last but not least, we've got these two things. Is it a double quarter note? No, it is not. It is a double eighth note, or 2 eighth notes. Okay, I'm going to write 2 eighth notes, and I'll explain why I'm calling it that in a second. Okay, I'm calling it 2 eighth notes instead of double eighth note because I think it's easier to remember that this is actually 2 different notes if I call it 2 eighth notes rather than a double eighth note. Something about the plural form of notes tends to help to remember. So 2 eighth notes is this, and now all together it is 2 different notes, okay, but it gets 1 beat. That is not because I think the number 1 is the best number in the world. It is because half of a beat is for 1 eighth note, plus another half a beat is going to equal 1. Okay, music is math, math is music, fractions are all over music, but it's going to help you with your own math work, and this is not really too difficult in terms of fractions. So hopefully you are familiar with all these notes, what their names are and what their values are. On the test, you might have to do something like this. Okay, I'm going to draw you a little sample equation here. All right, so I've got 2 notes. I've got a quarter note and a half note and an equal sign. What I'm looking for here is the number of beats. How many beats is this all together? So I'm going to say a quarter note is 1, plus a half note is 2, and 1 plus 2 is 3. Okay, you don't have to write the values underneath, but it might help you to kind of keep track, especially if there's more than 2 notes in our equation. Okay, let's do another one. Actually, you know what? I'm going to write a few here. I'm going to give you a couple seconds to see if you can figure out what the answer is. Okay, so there's one. Whole note plus whole note. Let's go. Two eighth notes plus a dotted half note. A couple more. I'll come on this side. An eighth note plus a quarter note plus an eighth note, and one more. Oh, so many choices, so many choices. Let's go with that. Okay, so let's work this out together. Let's start over here. Whole note plus whole note, okay? A whole note equals 4 beats, plus another whole note equals 4 beats, and we know that 4 plus 4 is that magical number 8, which happens to look like 2 whole notes stacked on top of each other. Happy coincidence. Okay, so 4 plus 4 is 8. Moving on, we know that 2 eighth notes equals 1 beat, and a dotted half is 3. 1 plus 3 is 4. Okay, this one might be a little trickier. We have half of a beat for a 1 eighth note, 1 beat for a quarter, half of a beat for the other eighth note. So what I like to do is I like to group my fractions together. It helps me to focus. Okay, so I have half plus half is going to equal 1. So I'm going to write it over here and cross those out. Okay, so I know I'm done with them. And 1 plus 1 is 2. Very simple. And the last one here, half note is 2, plus a quarter note is 1, plus a dotted half note is 3. So altogether we have 6. Okay, so you're going to have to do some of this on your test. You might also have to do the reverse, a little bit of algebra. Okay, find the value of x, or the missing note. Told you math was in music. So let's do one here. We have a whole note plus 1 note. Okay, we're going to use 1 note to fill this blank to get to this number. So we know that this is 4, and we have to get to 6. So if you need to, you can do 6 minus 4 equals 2, okay, and that will be the value of the note you need in the blank. Now, we know that our half note is 2, so it must be that. We can double check. 4 plus 2 is 6 indeed. Okay. So, hopefully you're getting it. I'm going to make another video for note names. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Don't forget to practice your own music math equations.